Bird Road.
I now call this meeting to order Streets and Lights on December the 2nd, 2019.
Would you like for me to start, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. I will hand to you some cost estimates. Believe it or not, they came in today. But I met with this contractor. His name is Ed Brown. And Ed Brown's a contractor. E.F. Brown Construction. Has done work for the town before. And instead of me spending a bunch of money on engineering fees, I don't know if you know Ed. But those are some of the ditches we looked at last time. Okay. And three of them, if I'm not mistaken. The first of which is the Armory Ditch. You know where that's at? Down along the, I guess that's the north side of the Armory property, down that ditch line where the tree line is, behind those houses.
Yeah.
His estimate was $85,000. What we were gonna do though, the reason it's a little bit higher is because
Are taking trees down.
well, we're not taking trees down. This would run a new pipe at an angle towards the Armory to get out of that tree line. That's why the DI-7 would be there.
Okay.
Drop in with 7 and then shoot it to the next one to stay out of the trees. We really don't want to be in those trees because we're going to be cutting the rascal down forever. So if you look at it, here's High Street, here's Tavern Street. Okay. Right now the ditch kind of meanders that way, and there's a drop inlet here. We're going to do it that way instead of those big pines. Obviously that's not the scale, but
So which
would
one
be-
is High Street? This one?
no.
The one on that side is High Street.
This is Tavern.
Tavern.
And that would get you out of the tree business. I think the trees are probably the most menacing. Now, do I believe this is the exact figure? No, but if you remember one time before, we bid something out and Jay Lee gave us a cost, and then he got quite frustrated when we had to bid it out, so I didn't want to do that again. So I do think that there is certainly contingency in that.
That seems really high.
There's plenty of contingency
Considering
in that.
it's
He even admittedly said
If you're not even gonna go through the woods, that should be a third of that cost.
it could be when we bid it out. It could be, I don't think it will be, but I think it will be
Well,
less than $85,000.
what was that about? That's probably about, what, 200 yards?
About, I don't think it's even 200 yards. I would say it's more like
About 150.
450,
Wow.
something like that, with the extra run. That's about $200 a foot. I think he was on the upper end, and he admittedly said, "I give you a high-end number." Okay, but I do think it's going to be.
Around 60.
Well, I'd say
Pretty sure.
anywhere between 40 and 60 would
Yeah,
be.
I think that's probably could be the expectation. All right, second item, Main Street. If you remember, this is a big ditch. It's fairly short run. It went across the back of a portion of the church property and then on the Williams property at the intersection of Division and Main. It used to have bamboo growing up in it real bad and it had like a concrete structure in there and just a big ugly
Still
mess.
is.
It's where?
Structure.
It's like going towards Taylor Bottom off of Division Street. You remember that concrete strip
Yeah.
next to the Apostolic?
If you go past Napa,
Oh, okay.
Oh, you said it right.
Oh,
it's
okay.
that grassy, apparently there
You
was a
talking
house.
to John Williams project?
John Williams' property.
Okay, yeah, okay, okay.
That is again, the cost estimate. It's a short run, but it's 42-inch pipe. Yikes. It's a big boy. All right.
So that's 60,000.
Yeah. And across from the Methodist Assembly, that's over at Jenny Davis Bunn's property. And I don't think it's too terribly far off, because if you remember, we replaced that pipe over at Miss
Okay.
Blevins',
house.
and that was $24,000, and this is here 30, and it does have at least one drop inlet. Okay. And a head wall to bring in the two, because there's actually a confluence of two creeks there. This won't actually tie in with the pipe at Miss Blevins's, okay?
Right.
But we'll accept both of those little creeks and have a head wall, and then it'll be rip-wrapped in between. Okay.
You're talking about $175,000 for these three
And if
projects?
you add it all up, it's gonna be over 100 grand, yeah. All right. We can chew on those, we can do one at a time, or we can do all or none, or however y'all wanna do, but, this is a pretty good sized ditch project. All right. Just so you know, too, I finally got a chance to speak with Mr. Williams, John Williams.
Mhm.
and we're gonna have to draw up a little bit of an easement. You know, you guys had approved a sidewalk that was gonna run from the church back to the corner. But because of the elevation, the ground being lower, we're gonna have to slope it pretty good. And Mr. Williams was very agreeable. He said, man, that's fine. Do whatever you gotta do. And so we shouldn't have any problem. It's just a matter of whenever Jason's free. We want him to start on the baseball fields, or not the baseball fields, but over at Wrigglesworth and get that going and done. And then we can start on that sidewalk over there. Okay, but Mr. Williams was agreeable to any kind of easement that we needed or any kind of slope easement that would be necessary.
Yeah, he's just going from day to day, so. He's really upset, you know, so, you know.
I haven't tried not to mess with him much, and I just saw him in town one day and we spoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what are you asking us to do?
Where would money come from for these?
Like I said, you'd have to break them up a little bit at a time. I don't think you can jump in and do $150,000 of pipe work. I think if you picked one, you could do one, and then maybe next year do another, and maybe year after or something like that, and give me some time to save up some money. But I think jumping all three at a time,
Which one would be the number one priority?
The one that's been asking the longest, which would be,
Jenny Bunn's probably asked the longest.
or, yeah,
And then,
or
and
second to
then
that.
the Armory ditch, and then the other one on Main Street. I would say the Main Street one would be last priority, because there's not a house immediately adjacent to it. It's not anybody's backyard, it doesn't traverse through the property. And I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for some participation in the pipe, you know? And I did talk to Jenny, and she said she would be agreeable to something. It used to be old policy of the town. and
You
I
buy
can't
the
even-
materials, we do
You
the
buy
work.
materials, we'll put it in. And I dare say that's how Miss Blevins' was done years ago, or when Mr. Whitehurst lived on the property. But I don't recommend doing them all at one time, jumping in them. I recommend biting manageable sized chunks.
What do you think, Tom? Do the Methodist Assembly first? That's the cheapest one, and we might get off with maybe a $5,000 discount or something. He said he wanted to do the Main Street last.
That would be my recommendation. That's probably the least pressing.
So would you bid these out?
Yeah, you got to. Absolutely.
But it's not anything the town can do.
Could we do it? Yeah, Andre and them could do it, but we'd be stuck doing that for 2 or 3 weeks and nothing else, not getting up leaves or any of that kind of stuff. So I would recommend just using a contractor to do it. Andre can certainly put it together if he needed to, but pouring the concrete in boxes, we would use a subcontractor for that for sure.
Was it Walker?
Somebody, yeah, I would assume Walker would be the logical guy, but
But when you bid it out, all that would be included in it.
we would do it as a total turnkey and turn it loose.
So you don't have $30,000 in this year's budget, correct?
I do not have $30,000 in this year's budget.
So
I
you're-
could find $30,000 in the springtime because I know.
Is that a hard number too? Cause that seems a little high. I mean, based on what we originally said, we
Well, I think-
originally were putting a head wall in there.
No, we weren't originally, but I do think the head wall is a good idea, so the two come together as one channel. Is that hard to fix? No, we still have to bid it out and make them like, maybe appreciably less. So these are just estimates.
But she made a point though. You know, cause I know in my area, Philip Myron said he been with y'all 35 years. Now we go jump on these projects here.
The cost estimate for his, I think Jay gave us was $47,000.
Right.
For whose?
Philip
Arms,
Arms,
remember?
he's got that
Yeah.
big old ditch in his backyard. And if you guys think it's necessary, we can wait until the budget cycle and budget X number of dollars for private ditches and do as much as you can with however much you got. And that's what
But I really think though that we should come up with a policy about fixing these people pipes and stuff. I think council needs to come up with a policy we can all work with, and everybody can't say nothing.
And then I can explain to folks when they come to me and say, I got this big ditch. Well, the town's policy is
Right.
you buy the
Right.
pipe or whatever it is. And then, yeah, I do think you need to codify whatever you do so you don't end up doing one thing for one person and that person coming back.
Another
and
one
say-
coming raising
So
hell.
how about y'all make a motion to task the town manager with coming up with a policy and bring it back to the committee?
Well, I get, the argument is gonna be that the the rest of the council's gonna say, we already had a policy. And we didn't really violate that policy. What the difference was, in my eyes, and it still is, Ms. Blevins's was not a violation of that policy. We were acting on something that was created
Already
by
done.
what the town did
Do
or
we
didn't
already
do.
have a policy? Is it in writing?
Not
That
really.
they pay for the pipe?
I think the
and
last
town
formal
pay for the-
vote was Ms. Blevins, but before that, as far as a townwide policy, was not on
Oh,
private
no.
property.
Cause remember we asked that
And
question.
we dealt with the Blevins as a separate issue.
So
Right.
not on private property was the
That we're not
policy.
supposed to be on
But
private
before
property.
that, it was,
If you buy the
You pay for the
material,
pipe.
we'll go on
Materials,
private
town would
property.
install it. Yeah, that was the case for years. And that's how Ms. Blevins's and others like that got done.
But just for example, how much would two pipes 18-inch of that HDPE, how much would that run?
Just a pipe,
Yeah.
I think 18 inch you can buy for about $500, $600 a stick. Does that sound right?
That's a little high, I'd say
Okay.
350.
Huh?
350.
But see, my thing is this, Philip.
Mhm.
If they buy the pipes, and like you say, they don't have to pay cash for it, we can finance the pipe too, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, if you paying $1,200 on a $30,000 project, it shouldn't be no kickback.
There's markup on the pipe, you know, if a contractor provides it. I mean, the town can buy the stuff tax exempt. We can buy the material much cheaper.
Right.
We can do that.
But is the contractor gonna let you do that?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, if we put that in the if we write that in the contract, it's like the town will provide the pipe, you give us a,
Stone, pipe,
you know.
concrete,
cost
any of
of doing
the, they
the
kind of
work.
like it because they don't have it out of pocket. They're just in there laying it in there, and they don't have to pay Cox or Bobby
You
Daniels.
know,
for
but
it.
that other pipe is.
That
not
24-inch
in
pipe.
Bun's yard, it's in the other guy's yard, so, you know.
Which one?
That other pipe that's gonna have to be tied in.
Yeah,
It's not
that Main
on
Street
the-
property, I think I've never approached the Williamses about participating in cost on that. And I dare say if he finds out the predominance of that 60,000 was on him, he probably, I'm just thinking because I don't know the answer, but I would say I would be hesitant to pay for that. 42-inch pipe is big, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
No,
big
I'm
boy.
talking about the two pipes in Jenny's yard, actually, only one of them is in her yard, the other one is in the guy behind Miss Blevins's yard.
Sure is.
So, have we talked to him?
And
Not
not-
having to pay for that pipe?
I would say none of that pipe is on that man's property, or that we would be installing. Some of it may be on his property now. But I don't, if you look
'Cause
at
it's
that
gonna
creek,
come
that's
back off and go
predominantly
the
on
other
her. And we would just do that head wall where the two came together, and where the two come together, I think that's Jenny's property.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But the pipe coming off of that other property is about 30 yards up the hill from where hers is.
Oh, it comes all the way from Oak Street. Isn't that
Yeah.
true?
Yeah, but I mean, we'd have to go into his yard. So where her property line is here, you're gonna go 10, 20, 30 feet into his property.
I would
Who's
hope to
paying for
just
that pipe?
connect onto the end of the pipe.
Well, I don't know that it comes into her property is what I'm saying. I think it's on his property where
We
it
may
dumps.
have to check, but I don't think I think there is pipe on his property, but where the throat of the pipe is, the terminus of the pipe, I think it's on Jenny. But
Okay.
we can survey it
Yeah.
and find out for sure. So,
or we could say, not on private property.
that's an option.
But that's what I'm saying,
Well,
council needs
if it is
to,
on private property, they have to pay for the pipe.
But right now, the town does nothing if it's on private property,
Unless council
unless council
unless
does
you
it.
prove it.
picks a specific project. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think it'd be better if we created a policy. Then better way.
I do think you're gonna weed through some of the requests if you sit back and say you gotta buy pipe. I think you're gonna reduce the overall number of requests. Because most people don't wanna come up with 42-inch pipe and all that kind of stuff. They wanna drop that down.
But then too, you never know if they know they can finance it, the town's gonna finance it.
We've done stuff like that before. Interest free.
So,
So we would require them to have a payment plan. They'd have to pay us $100 a month or $200.
right.
If it's important enough, yeah, I guess they would.
Cause that's just like Lomens and Carolyn, they told me that they would've had that job done down on, what is that? You know who we put that pipe in? When I first got on council, we put that pipe on, what street is that? It's off of Tavern, but it's by Ernest Watson's house. Remember when we put that in there?
We put the little retaining wall for them.
Right, they said they would have been and got it, but they didn't know the town finance.
We
So,
don't like to finance everything, but if someone's got a yucky ditch and it's on town property, that one was not even on her, that was on town property.
right,
And, it's a solution and they made the payments and they're making payments if they haven't already paid it off.
I think they paid that off.
Yeah. It worked fine.
But I mean, if everybody's hollering about they want this done, then, I mean, you gotta put up something too.
I agree, it's gonna reduce the overall number of
Right.
requests.
If you start telling them, but you buy the pipe, you buy the stuff, we'll come in with your property and fix it.
But for the record, what Mr. Miller was just talking about was on town property. There's a town ditch in front of someone's house, and she paid for the pipe that we installed on town property. Come back to you next time with the policy written up? Because I don't know if that was ever a formal policy other than it's just what the town did for us. And maybe something in writing will be helpful.
Well, I mean, the only thing I'm leery of with that, and I agree that we probably should have something like that, but whether there's gotta be a caveat in there or something that explains Miss Blevins. Because otherwise, it makes it look like, oh, we just made a, you know,
Exception to
made
the
an
rule.
exception for one person and screw everybody else.
Well, I think we have to be careful in one thing. It is a different situation, but how long do we warranty work? Contractor warranties it for a year, right? Warranties it for a year. I bet you Ms. Blevins' pipe had been in 25 years. More than that. It was in 1993 when I came to Blackstone. How long do you warranty stuff? Yeah, I don't know. What's the appropriate way to do that? Do we own these
Well,
pipes
and
forever?
who put in the pipes in Jenny Bunn's house? Town?
I would guess, yeah. The one that goes in between her house and the Davis
Yeah.
property?
I mean,
I'm gonna
that's
guess the
a
town
screwy
put it in
one,
there.
'cause if you
Yeah.
go up there,
That
I
thing
mean,
is tight.
that almost looks, when you look at it, you'd have to snake it, but it looks like it goes under that house.
It's pretty darn close, if it doesn't, yeah. It's right at the edge of the house. But there's really nowhere else to put it, I guess. And it's got that huge oak tree that's right there. Whenever you put that drop inlet, it's gonna be a big hole and it's gonna make that oak tree unhappy right there. You know, putting that pipe down right next to it. I'll do something and I'll put the caveat in there about warrantying town work. We warranty it for X number of years and it becomes,
Well, something in there that says, you know, if the cause of the current dilemma was caused by the town's mismanagement or
this is gotta be a terminus. It
Right.
can't be
Right.
80 years from now, you guys are standing here going,
Right.
cheese and crackers, what are we gonna do? So put some kind of a limit on it. The contractor will give us a year warranty on his workmanship, okay? Materials, I think you can go longer. All right.
What about easements?
Gotta get easements on everything.
Right.
Got to. And if we accept an
See,
easement,
and that's the thing, if those things had been done back when they were
We didn't do
done,
it.
then we wouldn't be having.
but we do have one on Ms. Blevins' now. There is an easement there. And we'd have to get one for Jenny, and I don't know if we'd have to get one down at the Armory, because if we stay on town property,
Right.
hopefully we can avoid
Right.
getting onto anybody else. And, yeah, I would say the Williams is the least prioritized. But
Cool.
the Williams property up there on North Main Street, I think the church would like to extend that pipe, and the town did put some pipe in there years
I
ago.
mean, are they more bent on wanting the pipe all the way through there so that we can fill it with dirt and then it can be
The church,
used somehow?
the church wanted to extend it to the property line,
Parking lot? or
but that really doesn't solve anything, because the rest of it's Williams' property, and believe it or not, the Noggle boy owns on the backside of the ditch. So, I think that one's just fraught with all kinds of problems. But the church's request was to just add however many feet to the end of the property. And I don't know if it's gonna gain them any more parking spaces or any of that kind of stuff. I think that's just what they wanted to do. On either end.
Cause I mean, that specific job could be, if you didn't run pipe all the way through, but if you just cleaned it up on either side and then rip-rap the whole area in between,
Could help.
you would negate the erosion problem that's going on there. And it wouldn't
Fabric
cost,
and riprap.
wouldn't cost hardly, you know, It might cost eight
Town
to ten
labor,
thousand
bro.
for that, yeah. I mean,
You use town labor for that.
hey, there's enough. Now, what, the only thing is that concrete structure that's in there, when we
Gotta
were
come
looking at
out.
that.
Yeah. I mean,
There's pipes and stuff that go in there that we have no idea where those run to.
We hope that we just cut them off and
Right.
cover them up.
Right.
And the end result is on that Williams property, there may be a cheaper solution, and the Williamses, for the record, have never approached me, Mr. Williams or Delois, never had approached me about doing anything, it's just at a request of the church. And that can be one of the solutions, is just rip wrap that joker to the property line, and then be done with it. I'll come back to you next time with a little policy.
Yeah.
Something, I'll work on something. Okay?
I'd like to make a motion that the town manager do write up a job order pertaining to this, of what we can do and what we can't do.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I think that covers most from last month. Traffic pattern downtown, I think this was referred by the mayor,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken, or at the request of the DEI or somebody about truck traffic coming down through downtown.
This is what you have, right, from your survey?
Yeah, we had just, based on Billy's, request, we had done a preliminary survey for the public and businesses, and it's still active, and we haven't boosted it and promoted it that much, but this is just the current results, just to give some feedback and viewpoints, and a lot of people who have taken the survey are primarily downtown business owners and community residents. The only thing that DBI really has that we would like to go on record saying is that on behalf of DBI, and I believe I can speak for a good number of business owners, is that if there is a solution, please don't do one-way streets. That's
Yeah, I've heard
a
that.
terrible idea. It's bad for traffic patterns, it's bad for business owners. I know that when we had this conversation, when the mayor brought it up months ago, we had reference like Lynchburg and South Boston, whose downtowns have one-way streets. They hate them. They're trying to get rid of them. And I know if you ever need it, I can pass on literature or different testimonies from DHCD, but it is just not, people don't like it, it's bad. So if that ever is crossing anybody's mind, please don't.
But you gotta look, you only got one or two choices. Either you can make it a one-way street, or you can take so much off of each side.
Or you can make it a truck route, so the trucks aren't allowed to come through downtown.
Now,
Yeah.
my proposal would be, we make that, if you basically said no trucks over certain weight limit, whatever that is
Width
for
or whatever.
18-wheelers, from the slip-in to the Pizza Hut. And then how you get there, that's on you.
What you mean?
If we just put up a sign that says no trucks, period, you cannot come down Main Street from Brothers Pizza to the Pizza Hut unless you have a bill of lading that says I'm taking it to Trend or I'm
Yeah,
delivering
deliveries have to be
something.
excluded somehow.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you this. I don't have a position one way or another, but the only position or recommendation I have, let's involve VDOT for the ins, the outs. What is,
I agree.
how does it affect our funding? Is there anything that we don't know if we
That
adopt
could
the
hurt us.
truck route and then VDOT come back and say, we're not allowed to do that. So,
Yeah, I heard that VDOT would not allow Brown Street, now this is an urban myth or rumor, whatever, that because the distance from Brown Street to the stoplight was not far enough,
Yep.
and that they would not approve that.
that may be the case. In my tenure, we did approach VDOT, at least Scott had actually asked us to look at it several years ago, and the response from VDOT was, no, it is not an appropriate truck route, whether it's because of length or whatever it was. And I think that may be because the town put a pretty good investment down there on Brown Street where they widen the radiuses and things, and coming out to the
Well, you could
stoplight.
even take them toward the firehouse, make them go that way, then they're far enough away from the stoplight. But
I've got a,
Wouldn't you have to widen the road out a little bit if you did that?
yeah, you'd have to,
Probably.
it would, that truck traffic would tear it up. It's in bad shape now, it would blow out. There's just not very much traffic on it.
Well, part of the problem too is that this, right over there, that, that one building that sticks out, right on that, right up, I mean, that daggone thing isn't 5 feet off of the
Here's
road.
one thing that may
And
serve
trucks don't like it, cause.
getting us a definitive answer once and for all, okay? One, get VDOT involved, but two, let's get a traffic engineer to come and tell you that's a, or that's a, and this is how you do it, or this is how you don't.
Yeah, cause we can't afford to widen the street. I mean, if you shave some of the
Take
sidewalks,
that-
all of the street lights would have to be moved.
Or take
It
that
would be a
on-street
big
parking,
mess,
that's gonna
and if we did the
Probably falling
parking
just
on one
favor-
side of the street, then
But
you have
look.
everybody bitching.
So,
I
We
think the
don't-
town's wrestled with this.
we don't have the property, I was getting ready to say, have no parking on Main Street. But you can't do that because you don't have any place to park.
Uproar, man, they're gonna be squawking, yeah. And rightfully so, I mean, they're trying to do business and. I
Yeah,
think
but
the thing
for
to
them
do
big
is
tractor
you
trailer-
doing something, getting the trucks, the through trucks, getting them off.
Yeah, them tractor trailers coming at you, cause I know when I be driving my truck, and you run into one of them tractor trailers, man,
I
you
know.
worry about your mirror, man.
Yeah.
I know that,
Well,
but,
somebody whacks a mirror out in front of our office almost every week.
really.
Yeah, we picking up glass
Huh.
out there almost weekly. And I'm like,
My recommendation would be that we recommend to council seeking an RFQ or an RFP for engineering services to do a full study and tell us what is the right way, have VDOT involved, and do it correctly. I think the merchants downtown are in favor of something, according to this. I don't think you guys are opposed, that I can hear, but I'd like to know what all the
how much
options.
money
are.
you think something like that would cost?
I don't think much. Oh, well, for the study?
Yeah.
6,000-7,000 bucks, maybe 5,000 bucks. But I think that would be the way to once and for all, because I think as new generations of councils come on, the old generations take with them the knowledge. All I can tell you is Diana Bryant told me that. Yeah, but let's get it down once and for all, let the merchants comment, have a public hearing or a public meeting, or the merchants can come and tell what they want to do, what they don't want to do. And is it even legal? Is it even permissible? There's a reason that the town didn't make it mandatory some time ago. When they did all that work down there and built the new Brown Street and do all that, I know the intention was to get the trucks off the road. But council made a conscientious decision at some point not to make it a mandatory no through truck.
Probably somebody on council had trucks.
Or somebody on council make a bid of the truck or whatever, yeah, exactly, but I think that, you probably wanna do a little study, making sure you're doing the right thing. And nothing wrong with it, but just make sure we're not gonna follow foul of VDOT or.
All right.
Well,
I'll make a motion that we seek an RFP for a study of trucks on Main Street and also involve VDOT.
a second. What about the public hearing? You gonna just hold off on that for a while or what?
Public hearing.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll make the recommendation at the December meeting of what y'all are recommending, and then we'll
Get somebody hired and
get
then
somebody
hold a
hired and then do.
Okay,
public meeting.
okay.
All right, Bird Road ditch, we're gonna go look at.
We need to codify that with a vote.
Sixth Street parking, we're gonna go look at. Tree at Second and Lunenburg, we're gonna go look at. Community Exxon on West Tavern. Let me show you, because there's something that's associated with all that. Just this past week, I'll put it up here for you guys to see. If you have curiosity, you're welcome to come look at it. All right. This is a preliminary 30% drawing of a section of South Main Street where we're gonna do an appreciable amount of drainage improvements. This is a grant application we submitted to VDOT, gosh, 2 years ago, and we received a $458,000 grant.
This is 6 to 8.
6th to 8th Street, okay? 8th Street, it goes actually just beyond 8th Street down to the ditch you're talking about, back here.
Gotcha. Yeah, the one right there by Rick's.
Yep, this is
Yeah.
Rick over here, and this is community convenience, okay? What we're finding is, the pipe here was originally gonna be replaced, but the pipe, one, not in bad shape, and two, the upgrade in size of pipe. Their claim is that the pipe itself is too small, okay? The pipe itself is too small, but it's in good shape, not the box. The box would have to be replaced. Their recommendation is because they can't even get an elliptical to fit in there. okay? And a box culvert, there's not enough cover on it. They're recommending leaving as is, that section, and supplementing it with a new pipe altogether. The cost initially estimated for that would approximately pay the cost of this, okay?
So this community X sign right now.
Yes, sir, right there.
Okay, so right beside it is where he's talking about with an empty thing.
The ditch. The reason I bring it to you is because if we lay a second parallel storm sewer, I talked to Dr. Prater, he doesn't know all the details other than he's agreeable to listen and see what can be done, and this would come in. That would be the time to clean that ditch.
Would that just be a head wall where it
Probably,
falls into
yeah.
that?
It would be. And that would be the time to go ahead and put the barricades all the way down through there, so we don't have to take them down. Okay?
So would you fill in that ditch?
I don't think you can fill it in, no, the water's gotta go.
I mean, that one beside,
You
Community
wouldn't
of
fill it in because it receives water
But
from over
this-
at the church.
Yeah, no, they need to leave that
Yeah.
open.
But I think the question is, a guardrail or something down along the side.
Yeah.
And I think that would be the time, if we're gonna be digging and doing and piping, let's run a guardrail down through there.
But see, that's his main concern is that a kid or something is gonna fall over in there.
And we did this portion only because the retaining walls and the wing walls on this box had collapsed in. It was actually causing it to surcharge back here. If you remember, that was just trees and shopping carts and mess and mud, and now it's riprap. Got weeds in it, but it's riprap to, I don't know, maybe to here or something like that.
Now, is there enough fall going this way?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't have enough cover. This is a 30% drawn, so they're gonna have to still do some thinking and ciphering. But this pipe would still be replaced. There's a
Now, what
galvanized
size
pipe.
pipe is that? 24 inch?
Existing 24-inch,
Wow. And that's a 60 inch, and they're saying that's not big enough?
that's existing. This ain't gonna be though. It's the same creek.
60
It runs
inch?
behind Dave McCormick's new apartments. Remember I had them take a peek at all that?
What did they want to put in there?
They were gonna put a bigger pipe, they were gonna put probably 72 inch box culvert in it. And they
So when
couldn't-
is this project gonna take place?
We'll bid it out in the spring. The plan is to bid it out in the spring. And it will make a mess of Main Street. Now, this project will also repave all the way to 10th Street, mill it out and pave it, and continue the sidewalks all the way to 10th Street, which is, if you look now, there's curb and gutter and sidewalk at 8th Street
Right.
and at 10th, and then there's
It goes right
gap.
to the edge of the parking
So
lot
the-
of the church.
so
and
the
then it
6th to
ends
8th Street
and-
revenue share project will include sidewalks to 10th Street.
That
too.
project will, but VDOT's not gonna reimburse us for that portion of it, okay? That'll be the town's responsibility for the sidewalk, but VDOT will reimburse through their VDOT month or quarterly checks for the maintenance or milling out that asphalt. If you notice, I just did the travel lane this year, doesn't look all that great, but it got us through the winter, because I think the asphalt wasn't gonna make it through the winter.
So is this is the VDOT proposal, what we submitted originally that they gave us?
That was the original proposal, was to replace that box.
Okay, so what you're asking us is that we go back to VDOT with this as an alternate plan,
Because
and with it won't cost any more?
our expectation is that the prices will be the same, because it'll be a smaller pipe, but I'm gonna have to get some easement. And since you brought up the community convenience, that's the time to fix all that. Now, there was some confusion about what does the town own back there? That used to be some sort of a town street, or alley or something, but that was abandoned. There's an ordinance of vacation, so it's really no town property running down through here. So we may have to get, from your guy over there at the store, may have to get some easement from him. Because we did that work only as an emergency. I didn't call anybody. I just went in there because the water literally was coming back after the storm drain. And I don't think the neighbors minded, and I think that ditch had been a menace for years. But to do it formal, any easement needs to literally go back to the town's right away back here. And all the way down. I would anticipate this would come, because this ditch makes a hard right turn. They come in and then go down, okay? I would anticipate that would terminate somewhere close to that junction.
So where's the alley that goes into Pickett Court? How close is that?
That's over there by the first turn, right?
Yeah, you would turn here and then
Yeah.
make this right hand.
That's why I was just trying to see, I mean, how close is where this is gonna dump out into that alley? I mean, is that?
No, there's a channel.
Is that
There's a creek
actually
channel.
turns, follows the alley?
There's a creek channel that goes in there.
Yeah, 'cause I've never
And
been
it's
down the
owned by
alley.
David Flippin, and David Flippin and I have been talking about a little bit of drainage easement to take some of that water off of Pickett Court. Because right now, we've got some collapsed pipes over there. And we need to replace the pipe, but right now, the pipe just daylights into a sump hole and doesn't have proper easement to get to that creek channel. So I asked David, who's the engineer at Pickett, and, I mean, he understands the issue, take a look at it and see if he would be mortally offended by us getting some sort of a drainage easement so we can cut a swale to the creek. I don't think you're supposed to turn water loose and let it surface plane across the property. I think it's supposed to discharge into a receiving stream. All right. With me? We'll be working with Dr. Prater. As this drawing shows, he owns
Oh, he does own that one?
that one burned down, if you remember, he cleared the lot. So I think for the most part, we're gonna be dealing with Dr. Prater. Okay. And in order to do so, we may need to angle, but I think that is, Sentner, I think is the next house, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Sentner maybe was the next house, and they're always very, very helpful. But there's a lot of stuff, overhead power lines, all kinds of creepiness down through there.
And it was, what size pipe are we talking about for this?
I'm gonna assume it's gonna be much smaller than the 60, maybe a 24,
48.
something like 18.
Go, oh, really?
Yeah, probably a 24. He didn't show it on there. But that whole drainage area, going all the way back to where those new apartments are, the claim by B&B who looked at it, because remember, we were having that issue with DCR, or not DCR, but the soil erosion guy and the site approval. They went back and took a look at that whole stream, and their opinion is that these pipes are undersized. But this box right here,
I mean, a 60-inch pipe, that's freaking huge.
it's big, it's a box.
I mean, we got, that's what we put in to take care of Sheep's Log Lake, a freaking lake. I mean, there's like 100,000 gallons a minute going through that thing.
And we're not having surcharging anywhere in town. I think it just if you know that property on 4th Street behind the book plant, at the corner of Lunenburg and 4th, there's a wooded lot that's just sat there for years, nothing's been done. I think more than anything, those ditches going back, one that runs south and then one that runs east, and then the pipes that actually go under 4th Street are your main culprit. That's your main culprit. We need to get in there and clean those ditches or get permission from the private property owner. All right.
So the rest we're right up to look at, right?
Nope, I've got a couple of other things very quickly, if I may. We talked about the easement of Dr. Prater's. I wanted to let you guys know, I'm working on 2 curb and gutter projects. One of which, and it may have predate you guys being on council, the town council did vote to do a half a block. Typically with curb and gutter, we do an entire block. But next to the mayor's house on Virginia Avenue, you guys remember this? Okay, so nonetheless, the mayor has emailed me in the affirmative and would like to go on and do that now, okay? So we'll be working on that one.
But the other person doesn't want it.
Last I talked to her, she did not want
I
it.
thought they were kind of waffling on it.
I don't think there's any waffle to it. I think she's pretty certain this is not in her best interest. And the other one would be, we're gonna be doing some work on 2nd Street, as you know, between College and Brunswick. But I've also been approached by the gentleman doing the new apartments. And if you know, there's curbing, or if you knew, there's curb and gutter that comes around from Academy and terminates at that first house. And then there's a gap in between that and the old loft apartments. And so I'll be working with both of those property owners, one of whom is, I think, Lee Simmons. We've spoken. He just wants to know what kind of money we're talking about. And then the gentleman with the apartments. Okay.
Is that just curb and gutter or sidewalk?
It would just be curb and gutter.
So what part would the property owners play in this?
In curb and gutter, the town's policies are that they pay half the cost. So right now, we have a contract with Walker at $50 a linear foot, okay? So they would pay $25 a linear foot, either by lien and making payments, or by lien, making no payments or paying up front, one or the other.
Now, is that new apartment complex, I take it, because I drove by it the other day, because I was just curious, I haven't really seen it, but is that the parking lot in the back?
It's in the back. It's on the 3rd Street side.
Yeah, because I kind of drove by the loft to look back at it.
He may be
Still, it
able to get
doesn't
some
even look
parking
like he
spaces
has-
in there.
It doesn't look like it has, like, entrances. Are the entrances on the end?
There's actually a little stem on that property that runs out to 3rd Street. You can see where it's cleared. They own the bulk of their property, and then it's like a frying pan. The
Okay,
handle goes to 3rd
okay.
Street, and that's what they're proposing. There'll be an entrance on 2nd and on 3rd, and then the bulk of the parking is behind the building on the 3rd Street side.
Philip, what is the deal with those apartments that we just built on Tavern Street?
On which street, Tavern?
Yeah.
I can't tell you everything because I don't know everything, but I did speak with the builder not too long ago. It looks like there's not a lot of activity there, but he's got 10 of the 12 leased.
You mean the Dillard one, on Dillard Tavern?
Dillard Tavern. 10 of the 12 are leased, according to the gentleman who built it. So, hopefully that's positive. Hopefully that's a good thing. I think it's good for the market for people to hear that upper echelon or upper tier costed rental units are being used. So I think it's good for the market. You know, we got 2 more going in, 2 more houses being built on 4th Street now. So we're gonna have to do some work on the driveways, because right now it's just straight curb and gutter
Across from VMAT.
across from ViewMac. And
Oh, yeah.
then ultimately, and I'll work with the property owners, one of the property owners is Eric Nash. You know, he owns some of those lots up there. He still owns, or the partial owner of some lots between 3rd and 4th. And if you know, we've come down in front of the Edmonds' house, and then we have that one last block. You know, it'd be our proposal, we pay for the sidewalk, but let them pay for half of the curb and gutter and tie it into and then we'll start working on North Amelia Avenue.
The Oak Street, that guy built two little apartments over there next to the other ones.
Built 4
Are they
duplexes.
operational yet?
They're full, as
Okay.
far as I can tell. There's certainly cars
That's-
parked
I
at
saw
3 of them.
there, and I was.
You thought
curious
that's
if
Frankie
they were
Wilson,
actually-
isn't it? Isn't that Frankie?
It is.
Yeah.
There's a for rent sign on Main Street leading to those, I guess one of, maybe one of, maybe the
I drove by
house.
this morning and there were cars in 3 of the little parking spaces. So. And those are technically duplexes and legal by right in the R2 district. All right, and the last item. I've had a request, and we can go look at it while we're riding, from Green Automotive. Came from Field West, or Field Green. They would like a crosswalk, or she's requesting a crosswalk be built between the store and the parking lot. Where the,
The Napa,
no, it would, you know how they have the cars across the street?
Mm-hmm.
Between that and the main
oh,
store.
yeah.
Some kind of a crosswalk so that people will be alert or notified and that sort of thing. And we can go take a look at it and see what your thoughts are. But
That would
if-
probably be helpful for people that are in the office and then wanna go across the street to look at the cars.
But the one thing you gotta do, if it's gonna be a crosswalk that's enforced, you do need to put signage up and you need to be able to enforce it. It needs to be per standard, so that somebody can't come back and say, well, I didn't see the sign, or I didn't see the notice. They said, we don't want blinking lights, but if there's something a little less obvious or less intrusive, they'd be willing to do that. Okay. You ride? Zach, if you're bored, you can go.
He's out front, he's got in the van, right?